Hi, hello, I'm Scout and welcome back. For this video, I wanted to talk about book slumps and 5 tips to get out of them. Recently, I could feel myself going into a book slump and I started to think about what I've done in the past to kind of get out of it, and I compiled this list. I also thought it would be really fun to recommend some books that kind of fall into these respective tips. Kind of like a preface, when I get into a book slump, I recommend stopping or pausing the book that you are currently reading. Just because I feel like trying to power through and be like, I can just power through and continue reading this book, like negatively impacts your reading experience of that book, and you start to dislike that book even though you might have actually liked it when if you had read it at a different time. So I always recommend like stop the book you're currently reading and kind of do these 5 tricks with these different 5 books before going into it. Okay, so my first tip is switch books from your go-to genre and kind of try something completely different. For me, I read a lot of like literary fiction. So for me, a big switch in genre would be like romance. I don't really read a lot of romance. And so that's always what my go-to when I am going into a reading slump. I will read a romance book because they can be really fun and I still enjoy them, but I don't gravitate towards them a lot. Like, I do not like fantasy novels. Fantasy novels make me like incredibly frustrated and angry. So I always have to pick a genre that I still enjoy, but just don't read a lot. Like, I'm not interested in a ton of books. So I thought I would bring up one of my favorite rom-com books, which is Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I show it off with every single book. I do have a signed copy. So this is my favorite of Emily Henry's books. I think she has like 5 books now. But basically, Happy Place is about a couple who dated throughout like all of college, and they recently broke up and haven't told their friend group because they're like in one friend group. And their plan is to tell everyone after the beach trip, because every summer they go on this like beach trip with their friends, and their plan is like they don't want to ruin the beach trip, so they're going to wait till after the beach trip and then tell their friends, which I normally hate, like those like kind of tropey stuff, specifically like the fake dating trope, but it makes so much sense in this book because I have been in a spot where it is incredibly inconvenient to share personal issues because like it's going to impact everyone else's experience. So like you can totally rationalize why someone would be like, we're just gonna pretend we're still together just for this weekend, and then it'll be fine. We'll tell our friends and it'll be all good. And we didn't ruin this moment for everyone else. And so it's about them having to fake date basically while at this like vacation home with their friends. And so it's really fun. I really enjoyed this book. I think this book is so wonderful. This is a great book to read just like in general, but this is like my favorite Emily Henry. I love this one so much. Okay, tip 2 is to reread a favorite book of yours. I actually did this semi-recently. I kind of started to go into a book slump. And so I reread one of my favorite books, Being Lolita by Alison Wood. I love this book. This book is such a breath of fresh air. It's a really quick read. It is incredibly upsetting. Just like little heads up, if you have never read this book or not heard about it, this is not a book for everyone. This is a memoir of a young woman and talking about her experience with a teacher preying on her and grooming her using the book Lolita. So this book is not very lighthearted. I say breezy, and when I say breezy or kind of use those lighter terms to describe this book, I mean that this book is incredibly well written in a way that makes it very easy to go through. It doesn't make the content any harder, but she is obviously such a phenomenal writer that the book is not like actively fighting you to read it. It wants you to be able to read it, and it has that nice flow. There are some authors who kind of write in a way where it seems combative with the audience. She is not one of those authors. She has beautiful prose, and like her rhetoric is phenomenal. I love Being Lolita. I think this book is really good. I think it's really important. I actually think that this would be a really good if teachers still want to read Lolita in class. I know there's like some debate about if they should or whatever, but I think if a teacher wants to talk about like unreliable narrator and prose and rhetoric, because Nabokov has phenomenal prose and rhetoric, I think they should do a companion read where you also read this book along with it to kind of clear up any misconceptions. That would be like my ideal form of reading experience for people. I read Lolita and then I read this immediately after, and I thought that was such an amazing way to read this and experience it. So I have in the past, when I was going into a reading slump, been like, I'm just gonna pick up a book from my shelf that I've read and read it. This was one of them. It was great. I really liked this. And I think this is a really great book. People who read like My Dark Vanessa, I have not read My Dark Vanessa, but I think it's similar, but I think it's fictitious. I'm not sure about that. Or it was written as fictitious, but it actually is real. I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. But if you like that kind of book, I think this is a really important read, and I think most people should read it. Okay. The next one is read a book by one of your favorite authors. This tip I think is super helpful for like exploring a new book, but also still having that comfort zone. So like, I really could have picked like another Emily Henry for this, but I decided, because I bring her up in every video, I think I brought her up in every video, Nora Ephron. I picked up this book, which is I Remember Nothing, which is a memoir that she wrote about her life. It's a bunch of kind of short stories, similar to I Feel Bad About My Neck, but the concept is I don't remember these experiences. And it's really funny, it's really hilarious written. It's not my favorite Nora Ephron. My favorite is I Feel Bad About My Neck, but I think this is such a great book. This is actually, I think I might have shared this in another video. My library was getting rid of some books, and this is actually the copy that I checked out from the library. You can actually see like where the sticker used to be, because it's the only part that's not sun bleached. This is actually the library copy from my library when they got rid of it and sold it. So I really love this book. It's not my favorite, but it is a really great book. Obviously, I don't really keep any books that I don't like or don't think I would reread. So I obviously do really like this book, but it's a bunch of short stories about her life and a lot more about her experience as a writer and like a woman, which I think is really interesting, because I Feel Bad About My Neck is not like that. That one's more about like thoughts on being a woman, where this is more about just like her life experiences, or the ones that she can remember. So I actually really think this is also a really fun book, especially if you like I Feel Bad About My Neck. And this could be really helpful for someone who's like coming out of a reading slump, who likes Nora Ephron or likes any of her movies and just kind of needs something to dive into. Again, it's pretty short, which I also think is really great for if you're in a reading slump. You'll hear about that at tip 5. But I think this was just a really great book to read in general. And I think it's a really good one if one of your favorite authors is also Nora Ephron. My tip 4 is to read in a different format than what you typically do. So like a lot of people just read chapter books. And so maybe reading a short story collection might be better for you, or reading poetry. And so I was kind of thinking of like, what's a book that was in a really interesting format that really was also like an amazing book? And immediately I was looking at my shelf and I was like, well, it's Bluets by Maggie Nelson. This book is great. I love this book. So this is written in, I would describe it as a listicle format, where each is like numbered. So this is like 40, or sorry, it's 49, 50, 51. So it's kind of separated out into these different thoughts. And so some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. And it's all about her relationship with the color blue and the sadness and kind of what blue means to her. She talks about her friend who recently went through like a tragic accident and is trying to like regain control of their own life because they've now suffered this like extreme trauma. It's a really, really good book. It's really interesting. And I remember I put this for my book club. A bunch of the girls in my book club were like, I love that this was so different than a book that I've read before. Like, I wouldn't normally have picked up a book that's formatted this way, but it was so interesting. It's really, really well written, which I think is kind of the best thing about it. But definitely trying like a different format when you're kind of stuck in a book slump is such a great way to get out of it, because it kind of like reinvigorates your mind is what I would kind of describe it as. My final tip is to read a shorter book. And I was thinking about like, what's a short book that like packs a punch? And there is one book that I recommend to people over and over again. And I'm like, it's short, but it's really meaningful. And that is Convenience Store Woman. I think this book is such a great book to recommend to people if they are in the middle of a reading slump. I recommended it to my friend semi-recently. I was like, you have to read it. It is such a good book in general that like most people should read it, but also it's short, it's really quick, but it packs the punch. So this is about a woman who works at a convenience store. I think it's called Smile Mart. Sorry, I have not read this in a hot second. She works at Smile Mart and she actually is really happy like working at a convenience store. She finds a lot of fulfillment there. And basically no one else in her life feels that way about it. They are all pushing their own personal views and beliefs about what she should be doing with her life. They're like, you should be married, you should be working a harder job. And so she kind of goes on this mission and sets out to do what everyone's telling her is going to make her feel fulfilled, to kind of figure out like, what is it for her that makes her feel fulfilled. And I really love this. This book is so much about like making your own peace and making your own happiness in the world. I really love this book. It made me, I was like not feeling my job when I was reading this the first time, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling my job again, because it's about being content with the things that you have and like not feeling like you have to conform to other people's views about the world and life. So I definitely just really love this book, and I think this is a book that everyone should read. And definitely if you're in a book slump, stopping and just reading a shorter book that you can get through really quickly and that can still pack that punch and isn't just kind of a meaningless short book, I think is really important. And so this is a book that I recommend to people all the time of like, just try it. Just take a minute, pause whatever book you're reading, read this one. Those are my recommendations, my like 5 recommendations of books in general that fall into the tips for getting out of a book slump. I just think that these books are really worth reading, and if you're falling into a book slump, I think they can be really helpful. I kind of wanted to give a little preview quickly of what's coming onto the channel in the next month. I think I'm going to start a series that I'm so excited to start, which is trying to explain this very long book series that I've read, because it is the silliest book series ever. And so I'm going to try and 4 books at a time explain what's going on in the plot of it to you guys. So that's going to come out next month. And then I'm trying to think of what else is coming out next month. It's one of my other videos. I started scripting it. I think it's my first book review, where it's a singular devoted book review for If It Makes You Happy. I think that is the video that's is scheduled to be next month. So hopefully it's that one. If it's not, my bad. I don't know what's going on the channel. But hope you have a lovely day. Bye.